Progressive Hoodie here. Welcome everybody. We're going to be talking today about this Young Turks video. Anna and Cenk had a big disagreement on the issue of vice presidential picks for Joe Biden. Now, those of you that have seen my other video, you already know that I think the chance of Joe Biden picking a progressive, even a fake one, as his running mate is zero. Okay? But I still want to get involved in this discussion here with Cenk and Ana. So let's get into it.
Say that he is likely to pick a woman. He said he definitely will pick a woman.
Talk about Joe Biden.
So now, first off, if this time around establishment Democrats make the same mistake as they did last time, which is to not reach out to progressives at all, it will be a devastating mistake. So, and reaching out can't be some sort of fig leaf, some sort of BS cover story, because nobody's going to buy it. You can't see any past progressives. So it has to be real. It has to be substantive. And the most real and substantive thing that could be is the VP pick. So if you give us an establishment hack as a VP pick, a Tim Kaine-like person, but a woman, that's such a classic establishment thing to do. Oh, no, it's okay. We found an establishment woman, so it's okay. No, it's not at all okay. It has to be a progressive. And so, I'm sure some of you will find this controversial. I don't find it at all controversial. I think it has to be Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, come on, Cenk. Cenk, if you think that Elizabeth Warren is going to unite the party, she hasn't endorsed Bernie Sanders. Like, this narcissistic ego trip that she's on right now is unacceptable, Cenk. It's unacceptable. And people are...
Absolutely. Cenk just said himself, you can't sneak anything past progressives. Right. That's correct. You can't. That includes Elizabeth Warren. I mean, when we look at how she has conducted herself throughout this primary process, it is evident that she has been exactly what she said in her own words, a player in the game. And from the beginning, the fact that she even ran against Bernie Sanders was problematic anyway. If you go back to 2015, we found that he was actually a part of that bigger movement to draft Elizabeth Warren to run the first time. He didn't make it all about his ego. He didn't make it all about him. He supported the person who, at that time, he believed, and I think I would agree with him, was in a better position to move the ball forward when it comes to progressive issues. And she was at that time. But then she dropped the ball. She didn't step up to the plate. So Bernie Sanders picked up the mantle and ran with it. And in doing so, he built an infrastructure. Then she decides to run against that. Why would she do that? That was already a problem. And then you look at the way that she ran in such a dishonorable way. Why would you think that Joe Biden would be able to get that past us as progressives? I mean, you're right. They're not going to get anything past us. Yeah, including choosing fake behind Elizabeth Warren.
Understandably and justifiably angry at her for this.
And it doesn't matter. We got to get past...
No, I get it. But what you're not understanding is Bernie supporters are not happy with what she's doing right now. So what makes you think that Biden choosing her as the running mate is going to somehow miraculously unite the party? I don't think that's going to happen at all.
No, it's not about miraculously uniting the party. It partly is, but it's certainly not miraculously. But Anna, look at this. Okay, so a couple of things. So I said Elizabeth Warren should have endorsed Bernie this time around as soon as she dropped out. I said she should endorse Bernie last time around. Of course I was right, not just ideologically, but politically. Because right now, if she had endorsed Bernie Sanders, progressives would be rooting for her more, right? And it would unite the party. So that was yet another mistake.
Yeah, but let's pause it right there, too. Yeah, and I get it. And people are saying that was a strategic mistake on Elizabeth Warren's part. She should have gone ahead and endorsed Bernie Sanders anyway. That way, she gets in good with the Bernie folks. And then when Joe Biden is looking for how he can unite the party, he can pick Elizabeth Warren and it can actually work. But this assumes that Joe Biden would pick Elizabeth Warren after she endorsed Sanders. Why would he do that? I don't see any reason why he would do that. If Elizabeth Warren had actually done the honorable thing and the real progressive thing that would have made the biggest difference for the movement, and she had gone ahead and endorsed Sanders after South Carolina when Buttigieg, Klobuchar, where all of them were dropping out, and washed up folks like Beto O'Rourke were coming out of the woodwork. If she had at that point stepped down and said, you know what, I'm stepping down, I'm endorsing Sanders, when it would have actually made a difference and could have helped his Super Tuesday chances, putting a wrench in the establishment's plan to coalesce behind Biden while leaving Bernie Sanders looking like some radical out on the island. If she had decided to join him on that island, you think Biden would be picking her as his vice president? He wouldn't even pick her. He would be even less, I don't think he's going to pick her anyway. But my point is, he would be even less likely to pick her if she had gone against his chances of stopping Bernie Sanders. Why would he pick her under those circumstances? He would have picked someone that actually helped him to get elected. He probably has made a deal with somebody already, ladies and gentlemen. I don't see any reason why he would pick sit on the sidelines, sit on my hand, because she didn't even endorse Biden. She just dropped out of the race and sat off to the side with her arms crossed like a 2-year-old. Let's be honest, that's what Elizabeth Warren did, like a pouty 2-year-old.
By the Warren team, I don't take any pride in saying I was right. It's unfortunate that I was right, but we're past that. You have to move on. You have to move on. So in terms of the picks that are realistic for Biden right now, Warren is as good as it's going to get for progressives. They're not going to pick Bernie Sanders. They're not going to pick Nina Turner. The only prayer we have is Elizabeth Warren. Otherwise, you're talking about Klobuchar, Kamala Harris, some other person that is going to be establishment 101, and we don't have any prayer at all of influencing this administration, the direction they're going. And
so look, I think there are other ways of influencing besides the vice president. And obviously, we will have to use those means. The question is, do you want to use those means? That becomes the question. But the idea that, Amy Klobuchar is somehow going to be so much worse than them picking a fake progressive and trying to abate us, trying to get us to shut up for a few seconds by picking someone like Elizabeth Warren, I don't see how that's a better idea. There are ways to still influence, even if they pick a corporatist president like Amy Klobuchar, they pick someone like Kamala Harris. There are still ways to get our foot in that door and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on.
Bring enough progressives over to actually win the election.
I think from what we've seen, as far as whether or not Biden's approach is in this cycle versus Hillary's approach and her supporters in the last cycle, is whether or not they'll bring on, as you want, more of a progressive as the running mate rather than reaching out with policy. And from just a few little blurbs I've seen, maybe I've missed many, it seems like the approach that Biden may go with is throw a couple of policy things out for progressives to glom onto, and hopefully they'll like that enough, and then I'll pick up another potentially more establishment type of running mate, because that's really what he wants. He wants someone to back up the way he thinks. So I don't know if that's going to be enough, but that's the approach I see coming with it. That's the lane that they'll take.
Okay, can I?
I'll tell you, it's not going to be enough. It's not. And the reason I don't believe, for many people, some people will just get in line. There's always people that just get in line. But for a crucial segment of it that could be convinced, I don't think it's going to be enough for the same reason that Elizabeth Warren isn't a good enough VP choice. Trust. Elizabeth Warren burned all her bridges. Like, we don't trust her. So at this point, you picking her doesn't mean anything. It's like picking a Benedict Arnold character. It's like, yeah, we picked this traitor. It's like, yeah, that person betrayed our team. Like, what? Why would that make me more likely to support you? If anything, it makes me less likely to support you. You picked a daggone traitor.
Let's just say something really quick.
The Democrats
So if we're genuinely concerned about uniting the party, right? Because uniting the party means, all right, how do we get progressives who are not happy with Joe Biden, who aren't buying Joe Biden at all, on board with Joe Biden's administration, right? So why do we have to settle for a woman who decides in the most important moment of this election she's going to focus on her self-care instead of doing the right thing in endorsing the right candidate? Why don't we go all the way? Why don't we go for an actual progressive who shows courage in difficult situations? How come we're against that? So I don't know. Nina Turner, is that crazy?
It is crazy.
Of course it's crazy, because Biden is not interested in a real progressive.
That's it.
So look,
That's it right there. It's that simple. It's that simple. The fakeness of the Democrats, the fakeness of the establishment Democrats, the fakeness of the corporate Democrats is evident in this. Guys, Marie Newman was running against this guy, Dan Lipinski, who is anti-choice, freaking anti-gay rights. This is who she was running against. And the establishment backed him instead of her. They don't care about gay people. They don't care about women's rights. They don't care about any of that. They want to win. That's it. And not for themselves necessarily. For the corporate interests that they represent. So a Democrat in name only, in the truest sense of the word, someone like Lipinski, is better any day of the week than a wild card like Marie Newman. Yeah, maybe she'll end up being an Ariana Presley type, character, or more of a, Elizabeth Warren type, or maybe she'll be a Bernie Sanders, or an AOC, a Tlaib, an Omar, a real pain in the behind, right? We'll see. But either way, they don't want to take a chance on that when they can just choose a Republican that will say they're running as a Democrat. This is the fakeness of the establishment Democrats. They don't really care about getting progressive policies done. And that is evidence of it, because if they really did, there's no way they would back someone like Lipinski. You got to think. You got to think. You can't let these people think for you in the corporate media. You got to really use your thinking cap, people. Why are you supporting somebody that's clearly so antithetical to everything that you claim to stand for? Because you don't really stand for those things. The simplest explanation, people, is usually the truest. Don't let these people gaslight you. And don't let them project their weaknesses and shortcomings onto you.
We can put aside real or not. Look, come on, Anna. At this point, I know that, look, you could argue that she caught feelings and did the wrong thing by not backing Bernie Sanders. But I could then turn around and say the progressives have caught feelings against her and are now being blinded because she did the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. She kicked the banker's ass more than anybody else in the business.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm getting tired of hearing about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I'm sorry, tired of it. Tired of hearing about it. This was 8 years ago. 8 years ago. You can only run off of one accomplishment for so long. You tried doing something good at your job 8 years ago and then being a crap worker ever since, and see how long they're going to keep you on staff. Oh, well, I know that I've been terrible and I've been losing documents and coming to work late, showing up whenever I want, stabbing people in the back at work, causing all kinds of stress and strife. But 8 years ago, I won an award, so that's basically what this is. And I keep hearing it from progressives over and over again. I'm tired of hearing about that whack behind, stupid Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I don't want to hear about that garbage anymore. Stop talking about it. That was 8 years ago. We don't send these people into office to do one or two decent things and then sit around rest on their laurels while they look out only for themselves and get in their feelings about snake emojis. That's not why we send people into office. She doesn't get to say, I did the Consumer Financial Protection Agency, so that gives me a pass for acting like a child now. That she doesn't get that pass. So I'm tired of hearing about it. Don't talk to me about the Consumer Financial. If you mention the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau in the comment section, I will delete your comment. I don't care. I will delete it. If you put it up 100 times, I'll delete it 101 times. I do not want to hear about the stupid, ridiculous, old, whack Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Go somewhere with that.
Ran her campaign against corruption. She did do all those things. Was she perfect? Nowhere near perfect. But is she the second most progressive senator in the country? Yes. That's got to be good enough. And if you're asking my...
So, look, yes, she ran against corruption when she started. When she started, she was the anti-corruption. When she started, she was the I'm with Bernie gal. Then, towards the end, she became, well, actually, I have a vagina, and so does Amy Klobuchar. So, there you go. That's who she became. She started on the right foot. It was great. But she didn't continue to be that person. She then became the slay queen woman. Oh, look how I'm, being all woman and using she when she. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that she started to do instead of being really all about the policy. She became all about those little woke moments. And it was just nauseating to watch. I mean, truly, I was nauseated watching it. It was ridiculous. And then, in addition to that, stabbing Bernie Sanders in the back. That's not running on policy. Trying to smear someone, helping the media to smear someone as a secret sexist is not running on policy.
A real political analysis, I love Nina Turner. She has a 0% chance of being picked by Joe Biden.
No, I know that.
You didn't think otherwise.
So can we have some names? Like, what names are there that are left that are the unsullied?
It's going to be Stacey Abrams. I have no doubt in my mind. Like, if I have to bet
That's
money
a
on
great
it.
That's my read on it. My read on it
that's a
is
possibility.
he is doing the typical moderate thing, which is a version of identity politics and not explicitly that, to say, well, I'm a progressive. I do progressive things. I talk to women respectfully. Like, that's their definition of progressive. It's not policy-based, and I agree with JR, and it's something I said last time. I didn't say what JR said, but I also hinted at that last time I was on during the debate analysis. I know it wasn't a debate, it was the previous primaries, which is that progressives want policy. And I like the policy position that he offered in terms of his bankruptcy bill reversal. It's a step. It's nice. But I agree with Anna that there are going to be too many people who look at Elizabeth Warren and say, well, if this was a battle, you threw yourself into this, like, you did a charge. You charged for the presidency, and you were completely uncovered. You abandoned your strategic position, and everyone who was standing there holding the front sees you run forward and is like, what are you doing? And now I have to forget that you did that. I realize, Cenk, that it seems like you're making a pragmatic sell on it, and I get it. And I do agree that that's probably the best we can get, specifically because when it comes to listing people, I can't come up with a name that seems even remotely palatable. I've heard Nina Turner, but that was a dream with a Bernie presidency.
Sure. He described it so well. Because it was like that. It was like basically you just went out ahead and just did your own thing. We were supposed to be a united progressive front. And when she first started the campaign, it was like that. It was like her and Bernie against the world. And at that point, even though I didn't really want her running in the first place, I kind of was okay with it. It grew on me, right? But she's seen, you have to understand this, Cenk and others who, for some reason, have bumped their little heads and think that Elizabeth Warren is a good choice strategically. I'm not talking about how I feel about her necessarily personally. I'm talking about from a strategic perspective. She is seen, right or wrong, it doesn't matter. She is seen as a traitor to progressive circles. That's just a fact right now. Now, again, maybe between now and November, those feelings subside. But right now, she is a Benedict Arnold. So there's nothing that you can do. Picking a traitor is not going to get people to back you. Hey, I'm going to pick someone who betrayed your side. How's that sound? Now you like me, right? He used to be on your team. Yeah, he used to be on our team, and then he defected. Like, what? How does that make me like, oh, yay, great? No, that makes me less likely, if anything, to choose you.
But it just
understand
doesn't
why that's
seem
so hard to
as
understand.
practical now. I don't know who.
And the reason why I brought up Nina Turner, of course I know that he would never in a million years choose Nina Turner as his running mate, but the reason why I mentioned her is because if the corporate Democrats are genuinely interested in uniting the party,
That's it. That's
then
the word
they
right
need
there.
to
That's the
go
word.
for a progressive
That's the word.
who
That's the word.
people really believe in as a progressive. Right now, look, I think, Jake, this is the thing that I want you to understand. Put your feelings about Warren aside, and I'm doing the same, okay? I know it doesn't seem like it, but just focusing on how progressive voters feel toward Warren right now. Do you really think they're going to just get over that and vote for Biden? I just don't think so.
So that was a great point by her. If the key word there was genuine, though. That's the operative word. Cenk needs to allow that word to do a little more work. If they actually genuinely wanted to unite the parties, they would be smart enough to realize that there's no way in heck Elizabeth Warren accomplishes that. She's a freaking traitor. So they're going to pay for some scientifically done, like real good polls that ask Bernie Sanders supporters like what they actually want. They're going to find Bernie Sanders supporters and actually figure out who we actually want, and then they're going to go with who we want. That's what you do in this kind of a situation when the party is this fractured. Because let's be clear, Joe Biden didn't just win because, oh, he's so much better than Bernie and he excited the base. No, Joe Biden was propped up by the establishment Democrats. He was propped up by Clyburn. He was propped up by Klobuchar, propped up by Buttigieg and others. That's how he got to even stay in this thing. So let's not sit here and pretend like, oh, well, like, no. I mean, Joe Biden didn't do this because he's so great. It didn't happen organically. And so the idea that with that kind of propped up, fake swell of support that didn't come from a natural feeling about how great you are, but instead through fear over beating Donald Trump and through propping you up through establishment channels, when that's all you have, putting your campaign up, setting it up, bolstering it up, you need to bring the party together. And if they really cared about that in any serious way, they would give us a Nina Turner type person. But they don't care about that. That's why you're going to get somebody fake like Elizabeth Warren. And like I said, they're not even going to go that far. You're going to get a Stacey Abrams. Oh, look, she's black. That's what you're going to get.
Or support Biden vociferously. I just don't think so.
Look, guys, for God's sake, be practical. So, number one, on someone like our dream candidates, they're gone. They're gone. They're not going to pick a progressive hero to be the VP. So just get past it. That's an impossible dream. So if you want to, like, there are people who are also impractical, saying, "Oh, let's do a third party right now." Okay, whatever. These are pipe dreams. So you can get mad at me for telling you the truth, but it's still the truth. So somebody like Stacey Abrams, she seemed like a perfectly fine candidate in Georgia, but what do you know about Stacey Abrams? You don't know anything about her. So would I rather take a chance on someone that I know nothing about, or someone that I know is at least 80% progressive, the second most progressive senator? You might think that's not good enough, but think about it. If we think that's not good enough, then maybe there is a problem with us.
Yeah, but,
right?
but why does that have to mean there's something wrong with us, though? If the second most progressive senator is not good enough because she's eons behind the first, and because she's more like the corporate Democrats than like a real progressive, which she's proven throughout this primary, why is that reflective on us? How is it something wrong with us that we want the people in Congress to actually represent us in a real way, in a real meaningful way, and not just do one piece of legislation, whatever, consumer, wipe my behind with it, protection bureau. I don't care. Why is it that we allow that to be enough? I think it says something about us if we keep pointing to something that happened 8 years ago. These people are never going to stop. She can keep up with this stupid act for the next 5 years. And they'll be like, well, 13 years ago, what is wrong with you people? What is wrong with you people? No, there comes a point where, what have you done for me lately? Is a real thing, is a real question that needs to be asked. And by people who actually expect their representatives to represent them, should be asking that question. That is not unreasonable. What is ridiculous is for us to sit around and allow people who don't represent us to coast by on their little laurels because they did something nice a decade ago. That's what we're coming up on a decade ago. And y'all are still giving her a CFPB pass. I mean, it's just I can't. Like I literally can't. So I told you earlier I'm going to talk about what we can do if Joe Biden is not picking a progressive, which he won't. Don't worry, I'll help you. He won't. So let's go ahead and get ready for this. So number one, that never Biden hashtag needs to be doing more work now than ever before. And I need to see it all over Facebook. I need to see it all over Twitter. I need to see it everywhere I go. Never Biden. Make it clear that you haven't seen enough concessions yet, because picking someone like Stacey Abrams is not a concession. Okay? So that ain't gonna work. The black corporate Dems are not gonna work. So never Biden. Second, we need to be showing up at every event. If he does an event in this area, we need to get a group of people together, and we need to go and protest that event. Pick climate change, pick Medicare for all. I would pick Medicare for all probably right now, but pick whatever you want. But we're in the middle. I think Medicare for all is probably the best because we're in the middle of a coronavirus epidemic. So I think that's the best way to go. We're in the middle of a pandemic, and this fool is talking about how he would not sign a Medicare for all bill. I thought you were in cognitive decline before, but now I know you really do have dementia. Okay, so that's the second thing. Thirdly, I know he's poo-pooing third-party runs, but if we actually mount a serious third-party run and scare the pants off of these corporate Democrats, I think it will actually make them start to say, okay, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And because that is the only chance that we've got. And even then it might not work, because I'm still not 100% convinced that the Democrats don't really care about losing to Republicans. They just don't want progressive to win. I'm not really convinced that they want to beat Republicans. They did everything they can to squash the candidate of someone who had amazing grassroots support. They did everything they can to push Bernie Sanders out of this race. I mean, what have they done to prove to you that winning is actually what's foremost important? Nothing. What's most important is corporatism and protecting the status quo. If it takes a Republican, they'll do it. Dan Lipinski, anyone? If it takes a Republican, that's what they'll go with. Anyway, I agree with Anna on this 110%. Elizabeth Warren cannot unite the base. There are a select few people that will get over it, but not everyone's going to. And I'm sorry. If you're going to be a part of politics, you have to understand how people work. Politics is about people, okay? And a big part of influencing people is an emotional level. There's an emotional component to influencing people. People get in their emotion. We are not always rational. If you study human nature and human behavior, you'll realize that we're not always rational. We do a lot of irrational things because of emotion. Think about how many people go back to the same person over and over again with that dysfunctional relationship because that emotion is there. They can't seem to get past it. You know that guy screwing you over 10 ways to Sunday, but yet you continue to allow him into your life and into your house and into your bed. Why do you do that? Because there's an emotional attachment going on there. So to act like, oh, well, for Cenk and other people to be like, well, they just need to get over it. They just need to get over it. Well, that sounds good, but I'm sorry, that's not how life works. People are not going to just get over it. I'm sorry, that's not how it works. Nobody does that. Okay? People need to have time to get over it. Now, it's March. There's a lot of time between now and November. People may get over this by the time November comes around. But the idea that somehow people need, just put your emotions aside. We got to put our emotions aside and actively ask for Elizabeth Warren right now before people have had time to heal. I'm sorry, Jake, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get progressives on board right now with a draft Warren movement. That's just simply not going to happen. I'm sorry. That's human nature. Now, if you can find a way to appeal to our emotions, then maybe it can work. But right now, you're just appealing to logic, and human beings are not the most logical people. They're not going to go for a draft movement right now. Draft traitor. That's not going to work. All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share, blow me kisses, do whatever you want. I appreciate the love. Thank you. If you watched to the end of this video, let me know who you think Joe Biden is going to pick for his vice president. And I have some ideas, and I may do a video on that at some point about specifically who I think it will be. It ain't going to be Warren. Deuces. Warren.